My name is Ray Tigerman, and I paint in acrylics. And I use a palette knife versus the traditional brush. When I was a kid, actually, one of the things that I would love to do is I would kind of sequester myself in my room with a pad of paper. And I just started drawing little doodles here and there. And I think it was apparent pretty early on that that was my comfort zone, if you will, was hiding out and drawing, which yeah, so probably, 4, 5, 6, somewhere around there. I think when I was a kid, when I went to school, I got into watercolors. So I love that early foundation of watercolors, positive and negative space. And then from there, I kind of went more into drafting. And then as that evolved, I kind of went into more of a photorealistic oil painting style, which I progressed through college. And then I landed on my current palette knife maybe about 15 years ago. I'd always used palette knife as more of an accent, but when I kind of fully switched over, I've never looked back. It seems to fit me more, and it's more sculptural. As you can see, even this piece behind, there's lots of chunk and layers, and you can do a lot of different fun stuff that are interesting visually to me, carving in, creating different techniques. So when I was a kid, I grew up in northern Nevada, and literally right across from a Paiute Washoe Indian reservation. So a lot of my childhood friends were Native American, and I got a really good indoctrination into their culture. I had a good friend of mine, his family, his uncle was an elder. And I remember as a kid, he was also the local firework dealer. So we'd go over to the house and kind of get in trouble, but his uncle would kind of regale us with these really mystical stories. It was like, to me, it was akin to like Middle Earth, all these deities, and it just really resonated with me. Not necessarily the fantastic element, but just the way that the Native Americans lived and their synergy with the earth, and they had a culture that really, that was, interested in preserving the elements in which allowed them to survive. It was a really symbiotic relationship. And so as I got older, it never really left me. When I became a professional artist 21 years ago, it was mostly abstracts, non-representational stuff. But I would do these as gifts for people. I'd do these like little figures and I would send them away, and someone posted something on social media, Facebook or something, and a gallery in Sedona tracked me down and said, I really love that image, who's this artist? And so I went out to Sedona, and then the kind of rest is history. So then I started pretty much painting the things that I really enjoy, which are more Native Americans in a contemporary setting. Clearly my color usage is different and my style's different, and I think I've been able to capture it in an unusual contemporary fashion. I think to try to stay fresh and original. I think as an artist, when I love studio time. So I have a gallery and a studio in Tubac. And so I do 6-day studio time, usually at least 8 hours, sometimes a lot longer. And when you're a professional and you're producing work, to keep it interesting and different and fresh, it's always a challenge. And keep yourself engaged too, because you don't want to be on autopilot. I don't want to produce a variation of the same image over and over. I want to explore. I want to have fun with it. I want my collectors to have fun with it, and so I think that's probably the most challenge is to do, and it's a challenge I'm always up for. Being a professional artist means something different to every artist. For me, I get to create things out of my head, and then I get to share them with other individuals who get to live with them. Like I always call my kids that I adopt out, and it's so rewarding. It's so rewarding. You know, someone said something to me, a fellow artist, and he said that a collector or a potential collector, they'll bring themselves to your work. And I love that idea. And so I guess my goal is to create things that I think are both aesthetically interesting and yet they are thought-provoking. I purposely don't put fine details on my kids and my subjects because I want them to have the ability to tell a story that is not necessarily one that I'm telling. I want the viewer to get lost in it and come up with their own connection to it. And I think sometimes if you're very literal with your subjects, you're kind of forcing your audience, if you will, to kind of feel what you feel. And there's nothing wrong with that. It totally works for many, many artists. But I like that idea of mystery, maybe a little nostalgia or a journey. And a lot of my pieces, they have a journey-esque kind of feel or theme. This is an amazing show, and you're surrounded by, in my opinion and others, the most talented artists in the United States and beyond here under one tent. And you get to meet, fellow artists, you get new collectors, you get to engage with customers constantly, potential customers. It's fun. It's a great way to spend a day.